We have some interesting thing to talk about.
Yeah. Did you know the Blair Witch had a porno parody made of it?
Oh, God.
Called The Bear Wench.
That's
Hey, everyone. We're off to a raucous start here on Erin Explains, and today we're talking about the Blair Witch Project.
I'm so scared.
We both just watched the movie for the first time, at least it was for me, the first time since 1999. 1999. And I don't know about you, but I don't think it held up.
Oh, well then.
That was not my experience of it.
My experience was that it completely did.
Okay.
Yes.
My experience was I would have stopped it 10 minutes in if I wasn't forced to watch it for this fucking video.
I'm so sorry for making you watch this movie again. I found that right from the beginning, it drew me in a way I was not expecting.
Okay. See, I found right from the beginning it was making me nauseous because even the opening titles are shaky. Well, at some point I did realize I don't actually have to watch the movie because nothing actually happens in the film visually. Nothing happens in the movie visually. You never see anything. It's really like a radio play. And so at some point I just started like, oh, I'll look around here, I'll look there, and then that's how I stopped the motion sickness.
See, I don't know. I was very impressed. I was very impressed with it. I actually went into it thinking it was going to be terrible.
Right.
And right from the beginning, I actually was into it.
Spoiler warning, we're going to be discussing this movie in detail, so if you've never seen this movie, stop the video or put it on pause. Give it a like, subscribe, actually keep it running in the background, and then go and watch Blair Witch, a 26-year-old movie that we don't want to spoil for you. So I don't think it held up, but that doesn't mean I think it's a bad movie.
Okay.
I think it's a first-time viewing experience kind of film. Some movies are meant to be watched over and over, and you get more out of the characters and the subtlety and the plot, and you get things from a second viewing, a third viewing. And some movies are meant to be the experience of watching the movie. It's going to the movie.
Yes.
It's not really knowing at that time it was being played, is this true? Is this not?
Well, that's part of the,
I never believed. I knew it was a fake movie, but it still worked. There was a mystery. You didn't know what you were going to get. I didn't know I wasn't going to see anything in the movie. And so a lot of stuff's playing in your head, like a good radio mystery does, like a good campfire story does. You don't have to see things for it to be scary, so it can be effective. But I think it only works once. When you go back to it a second time, and it's really missing character depth, and it's missing a plot other than go into woods, get lost, wander around, yell at each other, and then Blair Witch gets them. That's not much of a plot. There's not much to hang on to a second viewing. But if you've never seen it, see it. It's definitely worth seeing once.
No, and I agree with that. So yeah, it did work for me then, but I do think that it worked for me now, maybe not as a horror movie, but as a period piece. And there were so many elements of it that to me, like again, like there were a couple times like I rewound to oh, I didn't rewind, whatever. It's not the 90s.
The back button.
Let's push the back button 10 seconds to hear some of the things that people said to each other again, because it was just so of the moment.
I found some cigarettes. I found them all the way at the bottom of my pack. This means we're still alive because we're smoking.
I really appreciated thinking through what the practicalities around what would have to be different about our time now in order to have that experience, i.e. the no GPS, the no having cell phones, the not even having the experience of filming oneself.
Right.
I mean, the famous scene of Heather where you only see the top of her head.
The eyeball.
The eyeball. Why does that shot exist? Because she's an individual that does not have any experience shooting herself. Right. In a selfie, the word selfie didn't exist.
Well, most camcorders back then didn't even have the view screen. You couldn't flip it around. You couldn't see yourself.
You couldn't see yourself. So turning it around, and then you don't know what the shot is, and her not even knowing that she's going to be in this picture. It was things like that I found fascinating. And as I was watching it, I started to think about, okay, well, this movie came out in 1999. Even then, it was found footage from 1994. So it was even putting itself further back.
Right.
So I think, which was a creative way of not having to deal with sort of the millennial elements of the time of 1999.
There still exists a general state of either denial, complacency, or even apathy about both the reality and the potential effects of Y2K.
But I really got a lot out of thinking through the dynamics between like the two male characters and the woman character. She's the leader, she's making the film, and then there are these guys that are like the tech people,
right.
And that very 90s gender tension that was there, I thought was kind of interesting.
Okay.
Just this sort of sense that there was a deep impatience with the earnestness of Heather's leadership. That is something that, as someone who was probably the same age as her in 1994, I could relate to.
You don't think this is strange?
This is way fucking weird, but it really doesn't matter at this point because all I want to do is get to the goddamn car.
But again, like it was this idea of seeing it as
I did
not
find
a horror
that-
movie, but as a period
Right.
piece. It was fascinating.
Yes, and I do think it came, I mean, it really fell in a sweet spot of time for movies and tech. Digital just kind of coming onto the scene, handy cams, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
The affordability of those things. Also an audience that is, I guess now at that point, like a decade or so more used to watching low quality home video
Yes,
stuff
absolutely.
America's funniest home videos. And
Absolutely.
we're used to it at that point. We'll accept watching a narrative film told through this low quality. So it kind of like perfectly came together that a couple years later, that same sort of DIY digital thing would have to have CGI in it. It would have to have it would have to have these other tricks. Whereas this film is so homespun, handmade. Again, you don't see anything. What little you do see, it's twigs all tied together. That's just somebody made that stuff up and hung it up there, and then got the crew who are shooting themselves in the movie to wander in and go, oh my God, they see it for the first time. Like the whole way the movie's made is, like you said, it's very much of its time. You couldn't have made that movie a few years earlier, and you couldn't make it a few years later. It's just
absolutely. But I also think that it flips the expectations of a particular viewing audience who'd been raised with slasher flicks. The slasher flick is all about showing.
Yeah.
And this film is the opposite of that.
You're right.
This film is hiding everything from
So you've got an audience that has been raised for the previous 20 years of horror movies, whether in the theater or on home video, of watching gore. Everything's built on the cool deaths. How creative can you get with the deaths? And then this comes along, and there's chunks of this movie that are just black.
Exactly.
You can't see anything because it's in the woods at night and you just hear voices.
Like even the origin of found footage horror, like Cannibal Holocaust. The trick in that of the woman who's impaled, which is a very clever, cheap special effect. You can Google it if you want to see it. But that is really horrific.
Yeah.
It really is profoundly horrific. That this, I think, engaged in that same level of fear. I still think the final scene is chilling. It really is.
It's creepy. The
It's
last image
incredibly
of
creepy.
Mike against the wall,
Absolutely.
facing the wall, is creepy because it also, and maybe this is that minimalist lack of plot and story through most of the movie, is it calls back on something that you have not heard for over an hour. It's something one of the people says at the beginning of the film when you're getting all these different conflicting stories about the Blair Witch that don't make sense altogether. No. And there's one off that says something about making kids face against the wall.
Well, another one is being killed.
And you're just suddenly like, oh, it's a great setup and payoff with really nothing in between it. There's this setup, you forget about it because it's been an hour and 20 minutes. And then there's this payoff.
But also the other thing that I think it does that makes it very much of its time is that it also is so unsolved mysteries.
Tomorrow brings a one night each year, which seems to bring out the wide-eyed child in all of us. Halloween.
like old-timey unsolved mysteries.
Yeah.
Not the one that's on Netflix
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
not that one, but the old-timey Robert Stack, where you have the different kinds of mysteries, where you have, you know, like the serial killer, you have the bank robber, you have the missing people, and you have the paranormal, you have the UFOs. They're all mixed together. This film sort of takes advantage of this kind of general cultural knowledge of these different types of mysteries.
Right.
You know, this is pre our hardcore true crime obsession, right? Like, you know, people aren't listening to 100 true crime podcasts a week.
No.
Or like I do now.
It's
you know,
unsolved
like,
mysteries
it's
in
unsolved
48
mysteries
hours,
in
maybe.
48 hours, Dateline,
Yeah,
maybe that's it. And so what you have here is that if you're coming into this and you're of the true crime, you know, mentality, you're going to see it in this film.
Right.
You're going to see it as there being an actual potential killer that's involved. Or if you want to have it be
it's totally implicated.
Totally and completely paranormal.
Right.
You can come to this film.
You kind of get a
and you
both
can
because the
decide-
story, what happens at the end seems to implicate that was the killer, the
Yes.
actual real world killer of the children who was making them stand against
Yes.
the wall. But that happened in 1940. How could that guy be running around 50 years later still doing the same thing in the woods? So that implicates some kind of supernatural thing.
Hey, I read on Reddit that there is this theory that it's actually Josh.
Josh! 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 Josh!
Okay.
That Josh is the killer and that
And
Josh
he's
lures
snapped
them all in.
Yes,
he lures them all in
Right.
to this situation. That also requires you to let go of the fact that Heather actually is a leader or director of any sort.
Yeah.
Which is kind of annoying to me.
Yeah, see that I don't, but that does bring up something I was going to bring up here, which is how much the movie is the basis of like so much of YouTube lore.
Absolutely.
Right
Absolutely.
now.
Absolutely.
How many of the videos that
Yes.
are the 6 scariest camping videos you've
Yes.
ever seen? The Josh thing, I wrote that one down, is Skinwalkers, which
Yes.
is a huge thing. So many videos on YouTube, and the Skinwalkers can simulate the voice of somebody you know to lure you in. So
Yes.
that's the Josh thing. The banging on the tent. How many videos have you seen that of?
Yeah.
Or you're hearing noises in the woods but not seeing anything. The abandoned house in the woods, like so
the
many
movement, sort of you, or whether you think there's movement or otherwise.
Yeah.
There's also a whole the analog horror videos on YouTube where they're basically making use of this exact same type of Steadicam technology, Handycam. Sorry,
It's not steady.
not steady
There's
at all.
nothing
Sorry,
steady
I meant
at all about
I meant
this
the
thing.
Handycam technology. But I do feel that it as you say, it is a movie that is of its time, but I think that that's what makes it something that still works now, but on different terms.
Right.
Like I still found elements of it pretty frightening.
Okay.
But and especially the ending, I did, and I still really like the kind of differentiation. The differentiation of the different film. The film stock, like you have like the
It's
16,
the 16 and the Handycam,
and the
yeah.
Handycam. I like that. I like that kind of blend. And I also like the fact that it's playing with the idea. And I think that this has now become huge in our lives. That sort of like if you film something, it captures it in some kind of way that's going to make it safe.
Right.
You know, and I like that, and I think that a film like the Paranormal Activity series has kind of just gone
That
with
is
that.
trash.
And I think lending credence to your opinion of this whole situation is the fact that the two sequels, the two Blair Witch sequels, the immediate one in 2000 and the one in 2016.
And
They
that one
rely
I've not.
they rely primarily on jump scares because they aren't able to harness that fear of the unknown because all of a sudden it's known.
Right.
And I think that is why I think that I would like more people to watch Blair Witch, because I think that the level of kind of creativity and the way that it deals with fear, maybe it doesn't work so well watching it for a second time, but the way that
First time through,
but
it's still...
the way that it deals with fear is something that I wish more horror film people now would think about.
Josh! Tell me where you are, Josh!
So, as a relic of the 90s, is it still good?
As a relic of the 90s, it's worth seeing. I'll put it that way. And if you've never seen it before, see it. I cannot lie. My second experience just was.
Okay, I liked it more as a horror movie. So anyways, if you've watched it, tell us what you think. Tell us if you agree, disagree.
Yeah. Leave a comment below.
Leave a comment.
An
The
angry
video.
comment and how stupid I am.
Share this with people who hate this film or who love this film.
Yeah. And happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.